My name is Lori. I'm driving away alone, exhausted but free, with a sense of relief I've never felt before. In the back of the truck is the untouched food I'd prepared for what was supposed to be an extravagant wedding. Instead, I'm taking it to a community shelter. I remember the moment I held the broken knife in my hand at the shelter parking lot. It wasn't just a tool, it was the last thread to my long-held belief that if I were perfect enough, my family would love me. I threw it away, letting go of that false hope. Let me rewind a bit. I'm a professional chef, and I'd been hired to cater my sister Ruby's wedding. It was set in a secluded mountain lodge in Montana, far from any big town. The place was rented at a price that most people couldn't even imagine earning in a year. 48 hours before the wedding, I drove my mobile kitchen up the treacherous mountain road myself. I'd brought in high-end ingredients worth a fortune: Kobe beef from Japan, fresh lobsters from Maine, and rare truffles that cost an arm and a leg. I'd spent weeks prepping, thinking this would be a great chance to prove myself to my parents. But things started to go wrong as soon as I arrived. Ruby met me at the loading dock. Instead of a warm welcome, she shoved a garment bag at me. "Here's your uniform," she said. "I don't want you in that white chef's coat. It draws too much attention. I need you to blend in with the staff." When I opened the bag, there was a shabby, gray cleaning uniform made of cheap polyester. It was clearly a costume to make me feel small. I protested, saying the white coat was a safety standard and a symbol of my position in the kitchen. She just sneered and replied, "You're here to serve, not to show off. Wear it or leave." I should have left right then. But I was a victim of what they call the boiling frog effect. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, had always favored Ruby. When we were kids, it was let Ruby have the best toy. She's more delicate. Help Ruby with her projects, you're smarter. Over the years, I'd gotten so used to sacrificing myself that putting on that ridiculous uniform didn't seem like a big deal at that moment. I thought if I just made this wedding perfect, they'd finally appreciate me. As the wedding day progressed, the humiliation only got worse. At lunchtime, I'd made a delicious lobster bisque for the pre-ceremony meal. I walked into the dining room with a simple ham sandwich, planning to sit at the far end of the table for a few minutes. But as I pulled out a chair, my mother quickly stopped me. "Lori, dear, not in here. You smell like the kitchen. We have guests coming, and we can't have the place smelling like a diner," she said. My father, without even looking up from his bowl, chimed in, "Staff eat in the back. You know that." Ruby just added, "Today you're the help. Go eat on the loading dock. The view's nice." So I went out to the cold, unheated concrete slab, shivering in my thin uniform and eating a cold sandwich while watching them laugh and enjoy the warmth inside. The final straw came when I was prepping the champagne service. A crate of vintage champagne had a stuck lid. Ruby, already tipsy from mimosas, came in looking for a bottle for a photo. When I told her I needed to find a pry bar, she spotted my prized chef's knife on the counter. It was a hand-forged French knife that I'd bought for myself after my first big promotion. It was worth a lot and was like an extension of my arm. I tried to stop her, but she grabbed it and jammed the tip into the crate, twisting it. The knife snapped, and the tip flew across the room. She just shrugged and said, "Cheap metal. It's just a knife. I'll get you a new one at the dollar store." In that moment, my love for my family died. I realized they would never respect me or what I was passionate about. Then, just 30 minutes before dinner service, Ruby came into the kitchen in a panic. She threw a dirty toilet brush at my feet and said the cleaning crew hadn't shown up because she'd fired them to save money, and the VIP toilet was clogged. "You need to fix it now," she screamed. My parents were right behind her, looking impatient and telling me to help out. I took a deep breath, picked up the brush, and went to clean the toilet with cold determination. After I finished, I walked back into the kitchen where my sous chefs were busy plating the appetizers. I walked to the main wall, lifted the cover of the big red emergency button, and punched it. The ventilation hood stopped roaring, and the gas ranges went silent. My sous chef, Tom, looked at me in shock and asked what was going on. "Seal and pack," I said. "We're leaving." Ruby stormed in, furious that the food wasn't going out. I calmly explained that according to the state health regulations, since I'd just handled raw sewage at her order, I was now a biohazard and couldn't work in the kitchen for at least 24 hours. And since I was the only licensed supervisor, the kitchen had to close. My father tried to block the exit, threatening to ruin me. But I pulled out the contract and read the clause about health violations voiding the service while still retaining the payment. I also cited the state law about food prep after sewage exposure. As my team loaded the truck, I found an invoice in the trash for a $30,000 private jet rental that Ruby had paid for from the catering budget for some social media stunt. When I confronted her, she pleaded that she'd pay me back, but I told her I didn't let thieves rob me, not even family. Outside, the guests were being seated for a feast that would never come. Ruby chased the truck through the snow, screaming and begging. My father shouted that I was dead to them, but I just drove away, leaving them behind. Later, I heard that the wedding fell apart. The groom saw the jet invoice and annulled the marriage. For the first time in my life, I was free from the constant hunger for my family's approval. I was finally my own person.